Okay, and we're live. It's a minute till, there we go. It's 10 a.m. on Saturday, May 22nd, 2021. I always like to say, how did it get so late so soon? But here we are, and that's okay. So for anybody watching this live right now, hello. I know you're all going to start trickling in. You're going to get their notifications that Buckeye went live, which is always a good thing. I'll just do a quick introduction of myself and then get to an introduction of our beautiful guests today. So my name is Parham. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Buckeye Recovery Network. I do have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy. I am a licensed advanced alcohol and drug counselor. I am also in personal recovery myself from drugs and alcohol. On June 13th of 2008, June 13th, I'll be celebrating 13 years. So hopefully we get there. That's the goal, but there's no freebies and you can't take any early. So I'm sober today and continue doing that. Good morning, Jim. I appreciate you always being here live with the rest of us. So as you've noticed, as if you've been watching us the past about 4 weeks or so, we've been trying to do something different to hopefully add some value to you, the viewer, the family member, the loved one, the individual going through recovery, addictions and recovery, actually. And what we're trying to do is to bring some experience, to bring some strength, to bring some hope to you, and to be able to hear real life stories of individuals who've gone through the addiction process, not only with themselves, but with their families, and also what it's like for them now. So what happened, what it's like now, and what are they doing in their recovery, and how are they experiencing recovery together as a family? So Matt Keogh said hi. Stephanie wanted to make sure that you know that they're Matt and Ness. They want to say They love you. Hey, you guys are next, by the way. Don't think I haven't forgot about you guys. So you guys are coming next. But so pretty much what we're going to do here today is I'm going to go ahead and do a little interview with a mother and her daughter and through the recovery process. And it's going to be something that we haven't done yet. So far, if you've watched, we've had a couple sons and their mothers. We've had my mom. We've had a father and his young daughter from the perspective of addiction through the eyes of a child, which was really powerful. And today we have a mother and a daughter. So the person to my, I don't know if it's right or left, it doesn't make sense because we're on a flip camera, but the person over here, her name is Casey. Casey is someone that I love and appreciate and adore big time. It's someone that I can call a friend, I can call a colleague, I can call a coworker, and another person that's trudging the road of recovery with me. I've known Casey for over 3 years now, 3 years and a few months now, we'll call it. And this is someone that professionally is in charge of a lot of things operationally that helps a lot of the A to B to C to D and making sure that everything's running efficiently and smoothly in the world of recovery. Is also a pillar in the recovery community for female and women seeking recovery. So it's one of the most marginalized and underserved communities. There's a lot of trauma that happens in the world of addiction when it comes to females, and to find a strong, assertive female who's compassionate and caring in that world is a gem. And so you're actually watching someone here with us today that is really valued in the eyes of many people. Casey, I hope you know all that stuff I said about you is true. I really mean it. And, you had a big milestone in your life recently, which you could talk about yourself. But and on this side of Casey, so two of these over, is Stephanie. And Stephanie is Casey's mother. And I'll tell you this, that, I've only met Stephanie one time in person at Buckeye on a little meet and greet high and by. But this past year specifically, I know when a mother is committed, because even though her daughter is doing well in recovery, 3 years removed from the pain of addiction, Stephanie continues on a week-to-week basis, tune in, participate, engage, ask questions, give feedback, support other family members, because she's doing it for herself now. She maybe started the recovery process for her daughter because she's got that really, really deep love that she's doing this, because her daughter's going through this and she has to do it. But somewhere along the line, she realized, like, hey, addiction really impacted my life. I really lost connection to myself. I need to start doing things for myself. And hence she's been, a willing participant in this right now, and also an active participant in my family education support stuff for the past year. So Stephanie, I appreciate your participation big time. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to people that may have never even met you. So that's my introduction. So if you guys are ready, we can get into this.
Yep.
Yep. All right, let's do this. So, Mom, here's the first question. And when and where did you guys, and you guys meaning your whole family, realize that Casey was struggling with addictions in her life?
Well, I'll say the roots of addiction run far and deep in our family. So I started suspecting pretty early, but I remained in denial and didn't confront her for a long time. So really, Casey, 6 years ago, is
Yeah.
that right? Yeah, about 6 years ago, I started suspecting.
Okay, and when you said the roots of denial, I mean, not the, you said the roots of addiction ran deep in your family, but the denial was something that was preventing you from being able to actually see it in this and that. What kind of ways did denial work in your life? Was it just kind of to the point, oh, this can't be happening to her? Minimizing. How did denial show up, just in case another family member is possibly in that stage?
I had suspicions.
Okay.
I didn't confront her
Yep.
because if and I didn't investigate like I maybe should have. At that point, I don't know that anything would have been any different.
Sure.
But if I confronted her or I found out for sure, then it confirmed there was a problem.
Okay. So 6 years ago, you knew for sure that something was going on there. You weren't really putting on full detective mode yet because you didn't want to know the reality of that. It's easier to kind of not know that than to actually confirm that, you know?
Right. But I did get in full detective mode.
You did. Yeah. Well, for then you did. I know you did.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what families do. So, Casey, the question for you here is, was it difficult? So being a younger girl growing up, knowing addictions in the family, I know there probably was some type of shame or guilt or something associated to it. But was it difficult for you to keep your addiction hidden from your family members in the beginning, and then as it started to escalate?
In the beginning, not so much. But I think I knew that my mom was, kind of having questions and not saying them. It was really hard to hide it. I know she feels like she wasn't investigating, but I felt like she was. I had a really strong victim mentality. Um, and I mean, even if the question wasn't like, are you doing drugs? I felt like that's what she was saying. So she could be like, hey, are you not eating or are you not showering? And to me, that was like, hey, I know you're a drug addict. And then it was just like a full on blowout from there. So it was hard to hide. I felt like she was investigating me.
Yeah. And she probably wasn't. A lot of that investigation, by the way, is rooted in fear. It's a form of control. It's a form of fear because you you don't know what you don't know, and you're terrified of finding out what it may be. It's like a really difficult place to be in. So, and for you, Casey, how long? And I don't know if I have that later in the questions, but how long did it take for it to escalate to the progression of like the early use days to being full blown in addiction?
um, I think it was immediate.
Okay.
Um, I I was prescribed Adderall in high school, and I used that every day. And it wasn't until later on that I discovered that that was maybe a problem. Um, but as soon as I got into other drugs, it was daily.
And how long did that take, though, from the progression
Um,
of Adderall to finding other drugs and using daily?
16 years old to 18,
Okay. So it
18
was
or
very
19.
quick. It was very quick for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Mom, what would you guys, when you found out that there's addiction 6 years going on in Casey's life, because as far as I know right now, it's over 3 years that she's been, clean and sober for me meeting her. But what did you guys try to do when you found out she has addiction to help?
Um, I tried to get her to do an IOP because she was not going to go anywhere. So I thought, well, if I could at least get her to IOP, she wouldn't do that. I did take the car away. I was terrified to take the phone away because what if she needed me?
Yeah.
So many things I tried, and it was a good year before she did do a week-long IOP, then she was out. She was like, I'm not doing that. And it was just a couple hours a day, and she would go for a couple hours a day and then go do what she did. And I wouldn't see her till the next morning when it was time to go to IOP. And then there was another year and a half, 2 years before she actually went to treatment for the first time for 28 days.
Okay. And then what happened after that treatment?
She came out of treatment and went to a sober living house. She was there 2 months, Casey, maybe 2, 3 months. And
like 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe 2 months. And she failed a drug test, so they invited her to leave. And it was probably another year before she went back to treatment again. And I think she went to treatment that time because she'd run out of options, excuses, lies. There was nothing else to do. So she went there, and then she was there 28 days. She came back out, and it was just a matter of months. It was from November to March, and it was bad. And I had talked with family, like, what do we do? We've all got to be on the same page. We can't make her go anywhere, but as a family, we have to be all on board for 90 days or nothing, because 28 days wasn't getting it. She was just only detoxing in 28 days. And she called me and said she needed help and she wanted to go to treatment. And I said, as a spokesperson for the rest of the family, it's 90 days or you're on your own. Fortunately, I don't know what would have happened if she had not agreed to 90 days, because I was very weak in my resolve. Yeah. But she did go for 90 days, and they recommended Buckeye.
Yeah, so that's this is wonderful, and the reason why I'm saying it's wonderful is because I want family members right now to listen. All the things I said about Casey and who she is today and the progress she's made in these past over 3 years. From the chance that I've got to meet her, there was a version of Casey and a version of her family that's long before the Buckeye stuff that didn't know what to do with her addiction at first, whether it was trying to control the variables like cars and phones and money and all that kind of stuff like that, which didn't work. It was local IOPs that, Casey didn't want to go to. It was going to a treatment facility with good intention to go get clean and sober for 28 days without having a plan for what life's going to look like afterwards, what the continuum of care is going to look like. And inevitably that failed. It was going to treatment again for 28 days or whatever you want to call it, those residentials. And she's just barely starting to feel well, in the clouds lifting, but there's no stability, no roots. And a few months later, it got even worse, to the point that the family had to sit together, right, as a one cohesive front and talk about what are we going to do different. Because if you keep doing the same thing in life, my friends, you're going to keep getting the same results. And they said, we have to do something different, which was long-term recovery program, which was 90 days. And we'll get into this whole thing about where it came to Buckeye, because we haven't talked about, you guys are from the other coast. So there's a whole world of thoughts and anxiety and fears that's related to sending your most valuable asset, your precious cargo, across the country when they have a history of relapse. So let's thank you for that right there. That was wonderful, Stephanie. Casey, what kind of things were you trying? So in that midst of what Mom's talking about, that timeline of her knowing that you're struggling with addiction and her wanting you to go to IOP, what kind of things did you do to clean up, get sober, minimize, change, all the stuff we talk about the program? Like, tell me about your life those years.
I didn't do anything to try to minimize or try to clean up. I did try to get jobs a couple times, and the only reason I did that was to potentially get more money to keep doing what I was doing. I went back to college a couple times, not just for a few days each time, I believe. But I didn't do anything. My MO was kind of just letting it get as bad as it could, running out of all options, all lies, all money. And And I was never the type of person that would call my family and say, yes, I'll go to treatment in, a month, or I'll let you know. I never called and said I need to go to treatment unless I was really going to go. So each of those times was when I had run out of options or let it get bad enough that I couldn't support myself in what I was doing anymore. But there wasn't any me trying to manage it. I wasn't able to.
Yeah, no, I know. It's those warrior versions. I mean, whether it was just stall tactics or avoidance, or whether it was a part of you thought that by doing this you're going to get people off your back, or maybe even a part of you thought that that's what you're supposed to be doing with taking a class or two, to go from that actually becoming a reality of being a student that's self-sufficient, that's passing classes with a raging addiction. We just know that there was no way that could have possibly happened. Zero odds of statistics of changes. And the next question I have here was, so Mom, what led you guys, and Casey, the next question after that, I want to ask about what the last few days of you before going to treatment was like, but Mom, for you guys to sit there and Casey finished a 90-day residential program, it was extended care, if you will. And then the option of Buckeye Recovery Network came up, and Buckeye Recovery Network's in Huntington Beach, California, and you guys are sitting there. Can you tell me what kind of thoughts, emotions, feelings, just what the dialogue, the conversations were like amongst yourselves to make that decision?
When Casey and her counselor from the treatment center called me, and they were working on her aftercare plan and what she was going to do and where she was going to go, the lady said, there are some places that are closer to home. There's a place in Wilmington, North Carolina. There's a place in Asheville, North Carolina. But I think of the places I know of and that I've sent clients to, the Chadwick House in Orange County, California, is the best place in this country for Casey, where she's at this moment in her life. For her age, for the resources that are there, this is the best place for her. I said, okay, let's go.
Wow.
Casey had a totally different reaction. I knew in my heart that if Casey wanted to get high, she was going to get high. I could have dropped her in the middle of the desert or the middle of the ocean, and she was going to find a way to get high if that's what she wanted to do. But I knew the further away from her comfort zone, I'm a couple-hour car ride, friends, acquaintances are a couple-hour car ride. I just didn't think that was a good idea. And when the counselor said Orange County, California, I thought, gosh, that's a beautiful place. I've always wanted to go visit. I'll go visit her there, because I could miss her in California and deal with that. Dealing with missing her for the rest of my life was harder to think about. Yeah. So it was easy for me. Her not so much. She wasn't an easy.
Thank you. And that last statement you said, to missing her temporarily, living across the country, knowing that she's getting well or on the journey of getting well, versus missing her permanently because of continued use, possible the continuation of addiction at that level with the substances Casey was using, which are lethal and deadly. It's a powerful statement for any family member. And I've always said this, by the way, in Casey, before we get into your side of this, but I've always said this to family members. Don't be so afraid of the tough love component, because family members say, what if I send my kid out? What if I lock the doors or tell them they can't use in this house? Or what if I tell them they have to go to treatment somewhere and something happens to them if I do so? Statistics shows that most overdose deaths happen inside the family home, inside the room of the individual. So the room of the person living inside the family home, mom and dad turns the door open, knocks on the door, there's no sound, they go inside the room. The overdose happens inside the home. And I'm not just making that statistic up. So most children, the Caseys of the world that are watching this, or the people that go through programs like Buckeye, most of them are not meant for long-term stays on the streets. They just aren't. They don't have these supportive families that are around, and they just can't survive on the streets. They might be able to go couch to couch or relationship for a little bit and maybe hop around, but they can't fend for themselves, and they will reach back out to the family and say, I'm ready to get help, rather than just kind of disabling them by saying, at least they're inside the home and I can sleep well at night. Because this is a powerful case of saying, hey, get away to get help. I'll deal with myself, but I need you to deal with yourself, and trusting that process. So Casey, what was the resistance for you to go cross country?
Like my mom said, my therapist in treatment said California. She said you need to do IOP, and you need to be in sober living while doing that. So her recommendation was Buckeye for IOP, and she talked to me about the Chadwick House, which is in a close vicinity to Buckeye, and I said, sure, I'll call. And I called, and honestly, at first, it sounded right. I mean, it all sounded good. It sounded like what I needed. The admissions director had all the right answers, but shortly after that phone call, I decided that I wasn't going to go to California. I was going to go to Texas. I had a boyfriend in Texas who was newly sober as well. And when I told my mom of this plan, she said, "Oh, how are you going to afford that? You know, how do you plan on getting there? How do you plan on living there?" And that kind of backed me into a corner. I had nothing, you know. The only way I was going to get anywhere is if she helped me. So there were a lot more conversations to follow on getting me here. And I mean, thank God I'm here.
Yeah. There was a comment here. Felicia wrote, I'll put it up real quick. Stephanie, thank you for setting that 90-day boundary with Casey. Amazing to think that how one boundary has changed many lives in a positive way. That's a good way to look at it. Felicia is one of our primary counselors at Buckeye Recovery Network, and she's also clean and sober and does a lot of work for the sober community. So the next question here, Mom or Casey, what were the final days like before going to treatment? How did you guys spend those last days? Casey, feel free if you want, or Mom. I mean, those are usually the most painful days.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah.
Okay. The last days, I called her and said I needed to go to treatment again. The power was off in the apartment that I was living in. It had been for a while, I think. Maybe a couple weeks. It's not too long, but longer than most. I just was at a place again where I had nothing. I had no other options. And I came home for a night, I think.
A day or so, yeah. It wasn't
Day
long.
or so. And my mom found the 90-day program that I went to. And then we spent the day that she took me to detox, driving around Charlotte. I had taken all kinds of things to pawn shops in Charlotte, and she drove me around getting those things out of the pawn shops. Some things that weren't mine to take to a pawn shop, but they were there. And I wasn't sober that whole time. I put her in positions that no parent should be put in. Just manipulating my way through it. Like, this is the only way I'm going to get to treatment. I'll jump out of this car and I'll just be gone, and she had to do some things. She had to continue to enable me. And I think in her mind, she was like, there's 2 more hours of this, and she's gone for 3 months. And I mean, our parents in those situations just kind of have to do things that they never want to do just to make sure that we're safe. And that's what her mindset was. And I don't know that she would ever do it again, but she did it once and got me to the detox, which was a psych ward. Not the most glamorous detox that I've been in, but it worked. She got me where I needed to be, and then I went to treatment, and here I am. So
Yeah, I mean that the first time, Casey, I heard that story, my heart broke, but it also showed the power of addiction, to be honest with you, and also the power of the love of a mother, and also codependency, and it's like a bunch of stuff. But Stephanie, can you tell me that drive, if you will, just driving around the Charlotte with your daughter the day before she's going to treatment? What was going through your mind? Because I know you're not the first family member that's done this, but it's a very powerful moment in one's life.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But we had a 2-hour drive for one thing, and she was so sick, and I was sick too. I
Yeah.
had been sick for a really long time.
Yeah.
And in my sickness, I thought if I can just get her to that detox, to that psych ward, and she just was so sick, I thought, well, I got to do something I never thought I would do, and dropped her off to buy drugs to get her to detox, and bought things out of pawn and repawned them. So in 90 days, when she needed a phone, I would be able to go get it. Just crazy stuff that you never think that in your life that you would do. It's against anything I ever stood for. Never thought I would do, but as a desperate parent, sometimes we do things that you just never would think you would do. And
yeah, and just because I want to paint a contrast of recovery for people in this moment, because the emotions that are going through both of your recollections are powerful, and some people might be watching this with their wondering, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I would be able to do that, this and that. Can you guys share with me, Casey? And I know because I know the whole story, right? So I know the 3 years later story and all that kind of stuff. The last time you were in Charlotte with your mom driving around the same streets, can you please remind me and tell the viewers right now what was different? Because there's something that I want to point out to that story. So feel free to tell me, for both of you guys, your perspectives. What was different the last few times actually you've been to Charlotte?
So the day we were just talking about was my sobriety date is March 22nd, 2018. So that was March 21st, the day before I got sober. This year on my sobriety date, March 22nd, it's also my brother's birthday. He would kill me if I didn't, let everyone know that he had the day first.
Yeah.
But this year on that day, we were driving around Charlotte in the same streets. I can't look at my mom, I'm gonna cry. Going to pick up my wedding dress and, look at flowers for a bouquet, and, like doing the final planning for my wedding, which the next time I went home, which was May 1st, I got married. That's what we were doing the last time I was home.
Yeah, that's man, you can't, this is made for TV, made for movie stuff. You can't make this stuff up, but here we are. Stephanie, what's second time around having Casey back, fully back? And I'm not talking about just physically, but I'm talking about emotionally, psychologically, having your daughter back, driving around the same streets that you literally took your daughter to go pick up dope because she was dope sick, and pawned off valuables. But this time to go around and have the experience you had, what was that like?
Okay, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
It was things that I had already grieved for a wedding that I wasn't going to get to plan for her.
Yeah.
So to plan that wedding with her and for her to be home to have her bridal portraits taken and to apply for a marriage license, I was living a dream that I had already grieved over, that I just prepared myself that wasn't going to happen. And so then 3 weeks ago today, we had that wedding. And it's just worlds apart, just two totally different worlds.
Yeah, it is. It's I was taught that the practicing addict or alcoholic and the sober addict or alcoholic experience two opposite ends of the human experience. And the first trip in Charlotte on the 21st of March, by the way, March 21st is also Persian New Year's. It's the first day of spring. So I like that day. But the 21st of March, to go from that moment to this moment, it's really two opposite ends of the human experience. a dream that was dead came to life through the recovery process. You know, a dream that was really put to rest by a mom came to life. So, so mom, how has Casey's recovery impacted you and your family's life, even being thousands of miles away? Like, what's different for you guys now?
I guess we just have more peace in our own lives, knowing that she's living a more, I don't want to say normal, because like, what is that even? A more traditional life of what we expect people to do. They grow up, they have homes, they get married. She's doing all those things, and I have a lot of peace in that, and just super proud of her.
Yeah, it's and you know, that piece though that you're talking about is such a, I say, loaded word. It's not just peace at the level of thoughts. It's peace of emotions. It's peace physically. You know, when you said you were sick too, when she was sick, you were sick. Like, you're not sick anymore. You know what I mean? You're actually becoming whole and healthy and well, and you're able to, you know, when you put your head at sleep at night, you actually can do this thing called sleep rather than having
Right.
racing thoughts that worry and all that kind of stuff. So there's just so much that goes to that. And you know, Casey's heard me thousands of times do lectures and talks in person. And one thing I always say is, like, I really believe that we are changing the world. And I'm not just saying that. I really believe that we're changing the world. And what I mean by that is, it's not like this is a utopian, like hopeless romantic, I'm ending hunger in Africa type thing. I mean that when Casey comes across the country and goes to Buckeye Recovery Network, and she finds the community she finds, and she does the work she needs to do, while that's happening, that we're creating that environment and that ecosystem, you over there in Charlotte and the Carolinas, you are sleeping better at night. And as a result of her transformation, your world is changing. Therefore, the world is changing. Your world, but it's still the world. And if we can do that to enough people, if enough people can find recovery, and enough moms and dads and spouses and children, kind of like last week, like Isabella, if enough people can sleep at night with an altered reality because the world has changed, then by default, the world really is changing. So I really do believe in that statement when I say that. So Casey, how has your world been different as a result of the recovery process?
It's a big question. It's changed completely. I have a job that I love, and I work with people that I love. I have an apartment of my own, and as you can see, the lights are on.
That's right.
Yeah, always. I pay it on time, every time. I pay my own rent. I'm never asking my mom for money, because lo and behold, when you have a job and you are self-sufficient, you don't have to do that. I also have peace. I have happiness and relationships with people, friendships, husband, you know, like things that are just, you know, things that I could have only dreamed of having. I have a dog that is always fed. You know, I take care of something other than myself. So, you know, me plus one other thing, two other things, including the husband sometimes. You know, it's just completely changed. It's beyond my wildest dreams, as they say. You know, I didn't know what that meant, but I'm living it. So.
Yeah, someone just asked how old you are. If you're comfortable answering that question.
I will be 27 on Wednesday.
Okay, 27 years old on Wednesday. And I think that's a compliment. The reason why they were asking that is because to go from where you were at, Casey, unable to manage your life, literally in every sense of the way, to being able to be a productive member of society, that question is, I think it gives more hope than anything, not, you know, because you're, even people that don't go through the addiction process, by the way, you're a heck of a lot further than most 27-year-olds on this planet. I hope you know that. So it's just a cool thing to see. I just have two final questions for you guys. And the first one is for Stephanie, and it just says, what would you tell a parent, a mom or a dad, or even a grandparent, who their son or daughter is currently battling addictions?
I think I would say just try to hold on to hope. I never gave up on her, and I have always been and will always be her biggest cheerleader. And there's hope, and things can get better.
Yeah, and the thing I noticed there when you said try to hold on to hope, because I know that despite of never giving up, there's like moments when it feels hopeless, when it feels like everything just turns dark and it's black and it's like, oh my gosh, like are we going to get through this? And those are the exact times that you're telling people to try to find hope in those moments, and however people find that, by the way, sometimes it's connecting with others, could be connecting to spirituality, could be connecting to faith. I don't know what it is for different people, but those are the times where it's the darkest that we need more light, and it's and also one thing I would say from your words to other people is to continue to engage in recovery for yourself too, because that's something you've done, it's something you've done. I've physically seen you do for the past year. You're engaged with this thing, and it's that's also something important that family members need to know, because the same way, like you said, Casey was sick, you were also sick, and you also needed support for your overall mental health and well-being. So Casey, right back at you. What would you tell a son or a daughter who is currently addicted? What would you tell a person, how about that, who is currently addicted and doesn't seem to find a way out?
I would tell them or suggest them to talk to someone. It doesn't have to be your parents. If I know there's guilt and shame that comes along with saying that out loud to your family. But there are people that will listen, and there are people that understand. And if you don't ever want to talk to those people again, you don't have to, and you'll probably never see them again. You can. There's plenty of support out there. It might take a while for you to get comfortable enough to put some action to those conversations that you're having, but the first step is talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's to overcome the initial fear, because addiction is a really lonely place, and we think we go through so many things alone. And the more we talk to people, the more we feel connected, So you guys are both representations of what's possible in the recovery story. So what I'm going to do is click on some comments. We'll read them together and see kind of what inspiration or transformation this had in the lives of other human beings. So first one comes from our own Sarah therapist. She wants you to know that she loves you. Sarah, her name is Sarah. She is a therapist, an EMDR specialist for Buckeye Recovery Network. When you combine Sarah and therapist, you get the word therapist. So she's everyone's favorite person there. She loves you. You have cultivated a life that so many women in recovery can look up to. A career, married, changing lives, giving to others, good mental health, can show up for your family. You embody the gifts of sobriety. Just lower your cholesterol. Okay, I didn't say that. She said that. So leave it with that.
Mom, my cholesterol is fine.
Okay. Mama Faye, my mom said, what a beautiful mother and daughter. Thank you for your honest and courageous sharing. It definitely helps so many people. So I got to get my mom's little picture up there in the corner so you guys can see mom too. But Eileen, which is someone that's been watching this for a while, said, thank you, Casey and Stephanie, for sharing this journey. Has brought you to such a beautiful place in the world. And really, I want you guys to know that where you guys are at is the dream for many human beings, by the way. You guys are living a dream of recovery, and I hope you always cherish that. You always cherish that. Some mom here said, bravo, Casey, because, she's going through something personal like this too. And her dream is actually the moment that you guys are having. How about that? She's not where you guys are at. She's where you guys are at maybe a few years ago. So, someone said we're all over here just mopping, tearing, crying, happy tears with you guys. So I think your story got a lot of people that were just like chilling here thinking, oh, I'm just going to watch a little talk today. And they weren't anticipating what just hit them. Lynn right here, she's also one of our fans that watches every week. Such a beautiful story. So happy for both of you guys. Counselor Jim, creating boundaries is easy. Sticking with those boundaries can be difficult part. Don't set boundaries you don't intend to keep. Jim has been sober for, I think, 17, 18 years. He's been with Buckeye for about 6 years, probably going on his 6th year. One of our colleagues, Stephanie, the part that you said, I don't know what we would have done if Casey didn't take the 90 days. That's the part that Jim, I think, was writing to that, because That's the part that families have to know. Sometimes our plans don't go the way we want them to go. And in that moment, are you willing to really honor those boundaries? And you said you didn't know if you had it at the time. So to family members hearing that, that's the time that you have to gather support and hold boundaries, because it could save a life. Felicia, we already shared, a lot of good, Kitties of the world, which some of my favorite people.
Kitty.
Yeah, she's wonderful. A lot of people just saying hi in the beginning. So this was great. So tell me, what's your one takeaway from this talk? Kate, I do that. It wasn't on your questions, but what's your one takeaway from this opportunity to connect with these people? And I'll let you guys out of here.
Thank you for this forum. This is really powerful. My mom and I talk about these things often, and the craziness that was our lives, and her being an investigator and kidnapping me to the beach one time. We get to joke about those things today, and it was just really good to be able to look back on it and compare it to where we are now. I know that setting boundaries was really hard for her. I think I told you this one too. She texted me a few months ago, and she was like, it's like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. She's like, I'm at work right now. I'm watching Farm and learning about boundaries. And and as I've gotten better, she's continued to get better as well. And it was just powerful to talk about those things so closely today. So thank you for allowing us to do that.
Stephanie, what's your one takeaway from this experience?
I would agree with what Casey says. It's just interesting to talk about it, and not really, I guess, a more formal setting than like we do sometimes.
Sure.
And I know she does it for a living. I don't.
Yeah.
I have only talked about it with family and a few close friends. So it was therapeutic for me as well.
Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. There's just one more comment I have to put up, because this is just wonderful. So we got Bella J. I was like, who's Bella J? But it's Isabella, which if you ever watched last week's talk, Isabella was a hit. She was the daughter talking with her father, Heath. She said, love you, Casey, and your story. And your mother seems so nice, with a bunch of O's. So that means really, really nice in their words. And is very beautiful. She loves you guys, and I know you love her too. So Isabella, we all love you. Thank you for last week, and thank you for being a part of this. All that being said, I think we had a wonderful talk. I'm grateful for the opportunity to interview both of you guys. And I know that we made an impact in the recovery community. Whoever's watching this, feel free to share this with whoever you want. Let's get the link out there and make sure people see this, because this is what's possible in the recovery process when human beings are committed to it. So love and appreciate you guys all. I'll be here next week, same time, same place, and have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks.